So I watched the Barbie movie on opening day, and I was pumped.
Barbie, Barbie, Barbie.
I went with a group of 18 people dressed in pink and blue, and we were absolutely stoked to have some fun. Son, Greta Gerwig. And as the lights dimmed in the theater, I expected my life to be changed forever. I thought I would become Ken, lover of Barbie. But I was wrong. I didn't like Barbie going into this, and I never will again. Now, I don't think the Barbie movie sucked, but it's not what I expected from Greta Gerwig. So let's get into this. But before, hi, my name's Ariana Alexis. I usually like to wear themed shirts for the videos, but unfortunately, my one pink shirt that I have is packed up in a box because I moved. It has been 4 months of getting the place, securing the stuff for it, then moving in, and I finally have a couch and an open space to film. So if you're wondering where I was, that's where I've been. It's nice to be back. So let's keep going. Back to the video. Before we get into the bad, let's talk about the good, because the Barbie movie wasn't terrible. There was definitely some fine to it. First off, the film was actually really enjoyable to watch. The set deck and costumes were on point for the Barbie universe. I don't really need to make that point. We've all seen the house and we know the tremendous amount of detail that went into it, but it's just fun to see everything in action. Speaking of fun, this movie was just that. Now, as you probably guessed based on like the title and the thumbnail and like the packaging around this video, that I didn't like or love the movie, especially if you break it down into its raw chunks of story and theme, which we will be talking about later. But overall, things were happening and it was comical. I don't know if it's because I was with a group of people primed to have a good time on opening day, but the film was consistently hilarious with a lot of humor coming from like the solid character work. The side Barbies did a good job of being affable and organic. Ryan Gosling obviously did an amazing job. He was goofy, but like in a childlike wonder way rather than an annoying way, which is a difficult tightrope to balance. Comparable to a hot Freddie Prinze Jr. in Scooby-Doo, some would say, but hotter. However, I think the person that stole the show was 100% Brampton's own Michael Cera. The real ones will know. Michael Cera as Allan was, oh my god, so good. He's the queen of reaction shots. He was just this awkward little self-aware thing in a world full of delusional toy people, which is kind of his normal go-to, but it was super endearing and cute, and he was the best part of the movie. The general funny of the movie and the few good characters did a lot to make up for the film's shortcomings. So much so that like a third of the way through the movie, I legitimately thought, is the Barbie movie gonna be one of my favorite movies? Like, is this happening? No, it wasn't happening. I was just having a shit ton of fun. So now that we've gone through how much of a rip-rolling time this film was, let's talk about the bad stuff. The stuff I thought I could look past, but I can't. Unfortunately, I'm too joyless. Pink was never my color. The most minor problem was that it felt like it went on forever. It's really segmented. So you start off in the Barbie world, and that's fun. It's great. Then you get dragged into the real world, and the tone shifts, and the pace slows, and it feels like you're in a worse version of the movie, but it's still like, eh. And then you go back into Barbie world, and it's fun again, but in a different way. And then you get into another set that comes out of absolutely nowhere, and it doesn't fit with the first 3 parts. So altogether, it feels like you're watching a bunch of different movies at the same time, and honestly, it's very exhausting. However, the slowness wasn't the worst thing. The most blaring issue that keeps gnawing at the back of my neck is that, much like the Barbie toy, the movie was shallow. The film introduced a lot of tiny details and compelling leads with no real interest in exploring any of them further, and that was kind of annoying. Resolutions came out of nowhere and just seemed completely out of character. And there were several plot points and character moments brought in, like through throwaway lines that you expected to go somewhere later or add to the film in a meaningful way, but they didn't. They were just used to liven up the story, because instead of adding comedy, you just felt uneasy because you're waiting for these threads to resolve. Like the discontinued Barbies they bring in and give personality and then just drop. Or the backstory they give Weird Barbie and then don't explore anymore. Or Allan. What's up with Allan? It felt like they were having so much fun doing punch-ups and adding fan service details that they forgot they were making a movie, which is fine if you're trying to make a popcorn nothing film, but not if you're trying to trick your audience into thinking it's anything more than that. This lack of interest in exploring anything fully seeped into both the theme and the titular main character Barbie, and I want to talk about both of them. First, Barbie. Barbie was a passive, reluctant hero who people pushed her to be where she needed to be. She didn't have to make any major decisions or solve anything by herself. She was just a along for the ride. Fair, I get it. She's Barbie, she's a toy, she's meant to be played with. Sure, sick, I'm into it. Her arc was that she decided she wanted to have more agency over her life and who she was. Also fair, that makes sense. But that's also not really her arc. The movie says it is, but not in any meaningful way. Let the lawnmower pass, you're being very rude, lawnmower. You can't have a nuanced hero's arc if you don't bother exploring it. As Barbie's at her lowest point in the film, where she literally shuts down on the side of a road, the movie just bails on her to follow the most boring characters in the movie to watch them be boring. With Allan, Allan's not boring. So basically, when you'd expect Barbie to go through all this change and heartache, we're not with her. It would be like in The Dark Knight, after Rachel dies, the rest of the movie is just from Alfred's perspective, trying to make Batman happy. Batman still saves the day, but now it's Alfred's story. He's drinking tea, burning ladders, driving in a Corvette. The theme of the Barbie movie, not The Dark Knight, is also underexplored while being unnervingly heavy-handed at the same time. Now, I know everyone's been talking about this, but I feel like I have something unique to say about it, so I'll go into it. The theme of Barbie was essentially baby's first feminism. It's centered around the impossibility of being a woman and the absurdity of patriarchy. It's by no means an original take on the reality of being a woman, and it didn't go any deeper than, they want you to be pretty but not threatening, tough but not mean, want it all but still be selfless. The standard paradoxes, contradictions, whatever you want to call them. If you want to go simple on your theme, go simple. Not everything needs to be groundbreaking. However, it gets really annoying when you treat your simple, overdone take like some revolutionary new way of thinking. Teaching Barbie this lesson was the climax of the third act. It happened over and over and over and over again. It was like being repeatedly smacked in the face with a damp sock full of nickels. Listen, I am a woman and a staunch feminist. I get it. We need to be everything. It's hard, and I understand my experience. I wanted them to give me a new perspective on it, or teach that lesson in an interesting way, not proselytize it to me. Theme works best when it's shown in subtext and character action, not when it's 30% of your script's dialogue. If anything, being so heavy-handed and simple with such an important message actually hurt the point they were trying to make. Instead of promoting substantial or meaningful feminist principles, they pushed a bunch of Yas Queen lifestyle feminism. Which, if you're curious to know what lifestyle feminism is, I have a video on it. It's based off the show Parks and Recreation. Highly recommend you watch it after this one. I know the Barbie movie isn't here to make some grand point about how wealthy and privileged women see feminism as lifting themselves up with thoughtless platitudes and personal actions to make their own lives better, while ignoring the intersectional elements of feminism and the absolute need for people with privilege to use their power to give voice to women in communities who are prevented from speaking for themselves. But that's essentially what it promoted. And to be real here, I expected more from the Barbie movie. This laziness all bleeds into the entire narrative of the film. As soon as they introduced the concept of leaving Barbie world to go to the real one, I absolutely checked out from the story. I feel like they didn't care about this really cool world they created with unique social dynamics that they could have used to explore something more meaningful about feminism and the realities of being a woman. Like, they could have used the discontinued Barbies that existed in Barbie land. Some lived in the shadows, some were integrated into the main Barbie community, but they were all kind of othered. And compared to the regular Barbies who were still in circulation, these discontinued Barbies seem to be highly aware of the disparity.
Yeah, I'm confused about that.
And in the middle of all of that, there's Weird Barbie, who used to be the prettiest Barbie but was played with too hard and thrown into the ranks of the discontinued dolls. How do all of these self-aware Barbies feel about existing in a world that penalizes you for any kind of non-conformity and deviant thought? Or Barbie's arc of finally wanting to be autonomous? Do something with that. You have a whole universe invented to let your imagination run wild. Why would you choose to go to the real world with limitations? It's an interesting idea for a film where Barbie, who can, as her slogan suggests, be anything, looks at her perfect world and decides what she wanted was to be a real woman. Complications and all. It's a beautiful thought about loving yourself and embracing what it means to be a woman. But the film didn't make me feel that at all. I'm angry at them for it. So as the movie ended and the lights went up, I couldn't help but think of what my dad asked me when I told him I was gonna go see the Barbie movie on opening night, as opposed to Oppenheimer. He asked, why would I spend money to see a movie in the theater that was obviously gonna be shit? I said, said, no, it's Greta Gerwig. It's gonna be great. I'm not wasting my money. You're silly. Well, I hope you're happy, George, because unless you're going to see the Barbie movie with a gaggle of pink and blue nerds, it's not worth the price of admission. But I did go see it with a gaggle of pink and blue nerds, so I win. Just be careful that you also win from this equation. You, the audience member who's watching it. Go to see it with a group of people. Other than that, it's not worth it. And that was my review of the Barbie movie. I know there's a bunch of people out here that disagree with my point, but I also know there's a bunch of you that do agree. Comment below what you thought of the Barbie movie. But yeah, circling back to some more personal stuff, I've moved, I'm excited to make more videos, and I have so many coming down the pipeline. I'm working on an exploration of what happened to Ronald McDonald. I'm working on a Stranger Things video, and I'm working on the thing that everyone's been asking for, an in defense of Joseph Sugarman from BoJack Horseman. If y'all wanted it, I'm doing it. And with that, if you want to support my channel, you can like this video, subscribe, and or follow me on Instagram. My handle is @500daysofari. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.